So today, the Merced Explorers are here with JooYoung Choi. So we're gonna ask you a few questions, like about your artwork and about your process. So I believe you started as a painter. What path did you take? Like, what was your path to get to other artwork like sculptures and puppets?
That's an excellent question. When I was an undergrad, I thought I was a very serious painter and that I didn't have to do all these silly other types of art. But when I went to Massachusetts College of Art and Design to graduate, it was mandatory that I learned about sculpture. I had to do video art. I had to do all these different types of art. And when I went to graduate school, I started to realize that some of my ideas, they didn't look right as a painting. And one of my mentors, named Ambreen Butt, she said to me, I think this should be an animation. And she's a really great artist and really smart, so I was like, I should probably listen to her. So I started learning more about how to make my own animations. And I realized that my paintings were kind of serious. So maybe I could try making a puppet of one of them and I could bring it around with me, like it could go grocery shopping with me, and maybe I could get to know these characters more. And then we started my husband and I would bring the puppets to like our restaurant that we like to go to, and the waiters would come over and want to hug the puppets and ask about them. And it made my art so much more fun, and people felt like they could kind of give me advice about my characters. And I thought, oh, I gotta keep learning more different types of art styles.
All right, here at the Kalamazoo Institute of Art, you have a gallery downstairs named An Infinite Constellation of Love. What does that mean to you, an infinite constellation of love?
Well, I think there was this moment because I am adopted, and I went back to Korea to visit my family one summer, and I noticed that my birth sister, she was in elementary school at the time, and she had to make a family tree. But because she had stepsisters, and then she had me, her birth sister from America, her family was it didn't fit into all the slots right. So she created this really neat collage, and she put everybody kind of wherever she wanted on this map. And I thought, wow, I love that she didn't feel like she had to just put people in the way you're supposed to for a family tree, because maybe I wouldn't be allowed to be in the picture. And I thought it looks more like a constellation. And I think throughout our lives, we meet people who we add to our family constellation, like maybe a teacher that stays after school with you. And the way that they show that they love you is by helping you, learn algebra or helping you edit your poetry. Love comes in many forms. And so instead of seeing it as a perfect family tree, it can be like a constellation.
So what's your creative process when creating your artwork?
That's a good question. So sometimes I'll just have a material or a method that I want to use. So when I started doing puppetry, I started to try to figure out what's the difference between puppetry and sculpture. Is a puppet a sculpture? And so I thought, well, I guess I'll have to make a sculpture to understand the difference between something that is supposed to move around and then something that stays still. And so sometimes a question will then cause something to be made, like the giant pound cake man guy downstairs was just trying to answer the question of what would it look like if JooYoung Choi made a sculpture. And I guess that it means it's going to be really big and really fun, and kind of look like movement but not move. And then other times it's because I really love someone and I miss them. And so one of my best friends growing up, I grew up in Concord, New Hampshire, and a few years before I was adopted, there were only like 60 Asian people in my whole hometown. And there was another girl who also didn't look like most of the people in my town, and she had just beautiful skin, and she had like this hair I had never seen before, and they were from the city, and she decided we were going to be friends. And so we used to knit and crochet things together. And so over the years, I wondered what happened to her, because there was a lot of racism in my hometown, and her family was chased out of our town, and it was in the newspaper, and it broke my heart. And I thought, can I remember what my friend Jasmine Kelly looked like? What if I could make her a superhero in my world? And so one of the characters that's in one of the big paintings is supposed to look like my friend Jasmine Kelly. And I was able to find her right around the time I started painting her, and I found out she had a daughter. And so I took her daughter's name and Jasmine's name and decided to put them together to create this character named Jade Weaver. And since she loved crocheting, that's how she got her feelings out about how she was being treated. And sometimes she'd come back to school and she'd made almost a whole blanket over the weekend. It was like she just put all of her feelings into it. So you'll notice in that painting, we're all grabbing strands of this kind of power to help our friend be rescued. And I liked the idea that every time I was painting her, it felt like she was near me.
All right. We've all gone downstairs with you to look at your artwork, and it's definitely one of the most colorful and creative things I've ever seen. If you could describe your artwork in 4 words, what would that be and why?
4 words. Imagination, empowerment, journey, truth. I think those would be the 4 words I would think about when I think about the work, that it is all about this kind of journey to find our own personal truths. What I hope that my work is not that I'm telling you a specific story. I know when we went downstairs, I told you the story that I created to create a map for myself to create these pieces. But what I hope is that when people go down there, it becomes a mirror that maybe it reminds them of something from their own life. Like, oh, I remember when I used to play with a toy that kind of looked like this, or I remember I had an imaginary friend that was about that tall. You know, the way that it kind of sparks this remembrance of our creativity, or even helps us see that, oh, I want to go home and make my own video art, or I want to write my own songs, you know, so that's what I hope for. Yeah.
So your art is, the style, it's like family and love and journey and connection and all of that stuff. But has your style changed over time?
Oh, certainly, yeah. When I first went to Mass Art, which was where I went to my undergrad in Massachusetts, College of Art and Design is the full name for it in Massachusetts, all of my paintings, for the most part, were about yearning and desire. And I would paint a lot of pictures trying to guess what my birth family looked like, because I didn't know who they were. So my paintings were quite sad. But I painted a picture of what I thought my father looked like and a picture of what I thought my mom looked like. And when I went back to Korea and found them, they looked very similar to the paintings. And after I had made those, I was so shocked. I didn't know what I was going to paint about. And I thought about how my imagination helped me kind of deal with all these really sad feelings. Maybe I could use that same imagination to build a whole world to talk about all sorts of feelings.
So today we've talked about, you know, your life and your artwork and being adopted and being reunited with your family back in Korea. How has that, you know, your childhood impacted your artwork and how it is today?
I would say that growing up somewhere where I was always kind of seen as different, I think I was maybe one of the first Asian people that some people had ever seen. Because I remember being in like kindergarten and a kid coming up and looking at like whoa. And I remember being like, why are they acting so strange? But when I look back at my childhood, I realized that it helped me see what it feels like to be different. And that it kind of charged me to have this mission to want to create spaces where people can feel welcomed and feel like their differences aren't a weakness, but actually a beautiful strength. And then going back to Korea, meeting my birth family and realizing that everyone really does have the right to a search for truth and meaning in their lives, to understand who they are and to forge their own path. I think that it's about, learning that it's okay to be curious. Your curiosity can be your compass and guide you throughout your life.
So I think you have maybe 120 characters that you made, or maybe over or less. I'm not particularly sure. I'm pretty sure it was around there. But does every single one of them have some sort of meaning to you, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I know at least there's like 120 puppets in this room in my house, and they have taken over because I did this video art project, and it was supposed to be with humans, but then COVID happened, so I had to use puppets instead because we had the shutdown. So I just made a bunch of puppets to fill in for real people. But then there's a bunch of other characters that have only been in paintings. And let me see here. Can you say your question one more time for me?
So does every single one of them have some sort of meaning?
Yeah, so some of the characters do have a meaning, where it's, based on someone that I love and want to spend time with, and I'm able to kind of celebrate them through the character. But I also have realized there's some characters that I just make because, I want to make it. I'll make a goofy collage of a creature or character, and someone will say, "Who is that?" And I'll just look at it and be like, "I think that's Larry. Yeah, he looks like a Larry to me." And they're like, "Why?" I was like, "I don't know. Doesn't he look like a Larry to you?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think so. What's he do?" I was like, "I don't know, but I feel like I'll figure it out with time." And so I have noticed that some of my characters, I don't really understand them, but the more that I maybe work with them in paintings or I play with them while I'm doing puppetry with someone else, and you start to see the way that the puppet moves, you're like, oh, I thought this character was real serious, but when the construction of the puppet makes him kind of jerk his head like this, maybe one eyeball moves kind of funny, I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of goofy, but you don't know until you start playing with the character. So I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's actually quite nice to not have to feel like you know everything about everybody within your world. And that's something larger in life, is that it's okay to not know everything, because when you let some mystery into your life, you can let all these kinds of new avenues of infinite possibilities kind of become part of your realm and your world. Oh, well, thank you for asking that.
We've seen some of your artwork today, and we've heard more about your other works. Is there anything coming up? Could you tell us about one of your next big projects?
Yeah, so one of the paintings that I talked to y'all about downstairs, I had a little blue fairy in it, right? This helper character, and I was working on a plan for a show in Amherst, Massachusetts at the Mead Museum, and sometimes I'll just go through all my paintings almost like a family photo album and be like, who haven't I learned more about? And I had realized that this little blue fairy named Blue, her name is Nina Blue, that I really didn't know much about her. She had always played a supporting cast role. She was always helping everybody else, but we never knew where she came from or who she was. And I started to think, what does it feel like to always be told you are a supporting cast member in somebody else's life? That you never get to be the hero of your own story. And I kind of felt, I know she's not real, but I felt kind of bad for her. I'm being so neglectful of her. And so I started to really think about, what would her story be? Where does she come from? Who are her parents? And how would she go about finding that story? And so I did a lot of drawings, and I wrote down drafts and drafts of stories, and I realized this blue character is actually the spiritual energy, the symbolic kind of spiritual energy of water. And that water is so powerful and mysterious. The idea that water can face the elements and it freezes, right? It becomes snow. You put it in a boiling pot, becomes steam. But no matter how much pressure it's under, how cold it is, and it freezes up, it never forgets what it is. It always remains H2O, right? So the idea that it keeps its essence always inside of it, even though it knows how to be flexible and to flow. When you pour it into a cup, it becomes the shape of the cup. So it knows how to be flexible and become part of spaces with other people, but it never forgets what it is. It's water. It nourishes things without trying. It cleans wounds without trying. It's a large part of our bodies is water, right? And so that's the new character that I'm really looking at. And I realized as I was writing that she's not just Nina Blue. She is the quantum soup surfer. And so she is the surfer of infinite possibilities. So I'm going to be working on a sculpture of her and a series of paintings to kind of tell her story, to hopefully explore the idea of how do we stop being just a supporting cast member in other people's lives, and how do we take that step forward to love ourselves in a healthy way, to realize that being the hero of our own story means that we can give gifts to other people's lives just by living our own journey.
What do you think that your younger self would say if she saw you now?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I feel like she's the one that is the biggest audience. When you go to art school, they always say, "Who is your audience?" And I feel like it's me when I was about 8 years old, because I was very opinionated by the time I was 8. And so I feel like a few years back I was working on something. I was like, what would my 8-year-old self say? I'd be like, I think you need more dinosaurs in this. You definitely need more rabbits over here. You need like a dancing pretzel over here. And I will think about her sometimes, and I think she'd be proud of me. The video art you see downstairs, I didn't really get to see people who looked like me be superheroes on TV shows. And I saw sometimes little children on Sesame Street that might look like me, but I never saw grown-ups that looked like me. And I really wanted to provide all the TV shows that I wish that my 8-year-old self could have had. And so I hope that she knows that things that I make as an adult are actually gifts that I'm trying to give to that younger self.
So the woman based off of our program, Merce Tate, she's traveled the world twice. She was the first Black graduate of Oxford University, and she even patented a ice cream maker inside of a freezer. Would you be interested possibly in making a character about her?
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, the idea of her being an explorer, and I mean, it would be so cool if she came to explore the cosmic womb. And I mean, we have a whole place called Snow People Island, and they would be very curious about her invention, because I don't think we have any ice cream people. So maybe if she made one between Snow People technology and her technology, they could make the ice cream people sentient, and then they could, I don't know, have a dance party together. But it would be wonderful for her to come to our world. I feel like there's so much about Earth. They're very curious about how we do things on Earth, and I feel like they could learn a lot from her.
She also spoke over 5 different languages, so that's a good part to add too.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal. I mean, I know that some of the animals in my world speak a language called Maumei, which kind of means heart. And so they could teach her heart language, and then they would love to learn all of the languages that she knows.
So thank you for joining us today in this interview. We're very excited that you came to join us. We actually do have some Merce Tate merchandise right here that we would like to present to you.
Oh my goodness.
And it has all different types of swag in it. So,
wow, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is beautiful. Oh, wow. Well, I can't wait. I am definitely going to enjoy these and keep some of these in my art studio so I can always remember the special time that I got to spend with all of you phenomenal young students.
thank you.
Thank you.